Why did Ulf burn Ormund Hightower? House of the Dragon Season 3 Episode 8 explained. Warning, spoiler warning. This video contains major spoilers for House of the Dragon Season 3 Episode 8, The Treasons at Tumbleton, including the Battle of Tumbleton and Ulf the White's betrayal. Ulf the White was supposed to be fighting for Rhaenyra. He was one of her most valuable dragon riders, bonded with Silverwing, and his dragon was supposed to help the Blacks defeat the Hightower army at Tumbleton. Instead, Ulf turns on everyone. And in one of the most shocking moments of the Season 3 finale, Silverwing unleashes fire across the battlefield, killing green soldiers, black soldiers, and people inside Tumbleton. Among the dead is Ormund Hightower. But here's the important detail. Ulf doesn't actually kill Ormund in the way many viewers might initially think. Ormund is first mortally wounded by Roderick Dustin, who attacks the Hightower command. Ulf's dragonfire then consumes the battlefield, including Ormund and the people around him. So why did Ulf do it? Was he trying to help the Greens? Was he getting revenge on Rhaenyra? Or had Ulf simply decided that nobody controlled him anymore? Let's break down what really happened. 1. Ulf was supposed to be Rhaenyra's weapon. To understand the betrayal, we need to go back to how Ulf became a dragon rider. Ulf was one of the dragon seeds recruited by Rhaenyra. He successfully claimed Silverwing, the enormous dragon once ridden by Queen Alysanne Targaryen. That instantly transformed Ulf's position. He went from being an ordinary commoner to someone capable of destroying an army. And Rhaenyra desperately needed dragon riders. So Ulf became an important part of the Black War effort. But there was always one problem. Rhaenyra could give Ulf a dragon. She couldn't completely control the man riding it. 2. Ormund had already tried to recruit Ulf. This is one of the most important details from Episode 8. Ormund Hightower has already been trying to convince Ulf to abandon Rhaenyra, and Ulf initially refuses. That's important because it shows that Ulf's betrayal wasn't simply something he had secretly planned from the beginning. Ormund keeps pushing the idea that Ulf deserves more respect, more status, more rewards. And eventually, Ormund gets through to him. The conversation becomes personal. Ulf has been treated as an outsider by the nobles around him. He's been given a dragon, but he still doesn't feel respected. And Ormund knows exactly how to exploit that resentment. 3. Ulf's problem wasn't just money. It's easy to say Ulf betrayed Rhaenyra because he wanted a castle or a lordship, and that certainly matters. But Episode 8 gives us something deeper. Ulf wants respect. He has suddenly become one of the most powerful men in Westeros, yet people still treat him like the commoner he used to be. That creates enormous resentment. He has Silverwing. He has the ability to change the outcome of a battle. But he doesn't feel that the people around him truly recognize his importance. Ormund uses that weakness. He basically tells Ulf that the Greens are willing to give him the status he believes he deserves. And eventually, Ulf breaks. 4. Why does Ulf attack Tumbleton? This is where the situation becomes much more complicated. Ulf doesn't simply switch sides and start fighting for the Greens in an organized military operation. Instead, Silverwing begins burning through the battlefield, and the destruction becomes increasingly indiscriminate. Black soldiers are caught in the flames, green soldiers are caught in the flames. Tumbleton itself is devastated, and ordinary people are killed. This is what makes Ulf's betrayal so disturbing. He's no longer acting like a soldier following orders. He's acting like a man who has realized that he has the power to do whatever he wants, and nobody on the ground can stop him. 5. Did Ulf intentionally burn Ormund? This is the key question. The answer is not exactly. Ormund is already in the middle of the battle when Roderick Dustin and the Winterwolves reach him. Roderick attacks the Green Command and ultimately kills Ormund. But then the dragon battle completely changes the situation. Silverwing's fire sweeps across the area. So Ulf isn't specifically hunting Ormund down with the intention of personally executing him. Instead, Ormund becomes one of the many victims of the devastation Ulf unleashes. That distinction is important. because it makes the scene even more tragic. Ormund's carefully constructed plan to control Tumbleton, his attempt to manipulate Ulf, his attempt to use the dragon seeds, all of it collapses into chaos. And ultimately, the dragon rider he tried to recruit helps destroy the battlefield. 6. Was Ulf taking revenge on Ormund? There's certainly an argument that Ulf's actions are partly driven by resentment. Ormund had repeatedly tried to manipulate him. He had treated Ulf as someone whose loyalty could be bought. And Ulf had already experienced humiliation and disrespect from powerful people. So when he finally turns, there is a sense of, you wanted my power? Fine, now look at what it can do. But the show doesn't explicitly say that Ulf burns Tumbleton because he specifically wants revenge against Ormund. That's an interpretation. What the episode clearly shows is that Ulf has stopped caring about the political boundaries between black and green. His actions become almost entirely self-directed. 7. Ulf's betrayal is different from Hugh's. This is another important point. Ulf and Hugh Hammer are eventually remembered as the two betrayers, but their motivations aren't identical. Hugh has his own reasons for turning against Rhaenyra. Ulf's motivation is much more closely connected to his growing frustration with how he's treated. Ulf wants recognition. He wants status, and he wants the respect that he believes comes with being a dragon rider. The tragedy is that he doesn't understand the responsibility that comes with that power. He sees Silverwing as proof that he's finally become important. But the moment he uses that power recklessly, he becomes exactly the kind of threat everyone should fear. 8. Why Silverwing makes the betrayal so terrifying. Imagine being a soldier at Tumbleton. You see a dragon in the sky. You know that dragon is supposed to be fighting for your side. Then suddenly, your own dragon starts attacking you? That's what makes the dragon seed betrayal so devastating. Rhaenyra's greatest advantage was supposed to be her dragons. But Tumbleton proves that dragons are only an advantage when their riders can be trusted. Once Ulf turns, Silverwing becomes a weapon that neither army can safely control. And that's why the battle descends into complete chaos. 9. The bigger meaning of Ormund's death. Ormund's death is particularly ironic because he had spent so much of the season trying to outmaneuver everyone around him. He captures Tumbleton. He manipulates the political situation. He tries to recruit Ulf. He believes he can use the dragon seeds to change the balance of power. But ultimately, the battlefield becomes completely uncontrollable. Roderick Dustin kills him, and then the dragonfire consumes the battlefield. So Ormund's death represents the failure of his entire strategy. He believed he could control the pieces on the board. But dragons aren't chess pieces, and neither are the people riding them. 10. Why did Ulf burn innocent people? This is probably the most disturbing part of the entire scene. If Ulf simply wanted to betray Rhaenyra, why attack civilians? The show doesn't give us a clean answer, and that's important. We shouldn't invent a motivation that the episode never establishes. One interpretation is that Ulf has completely lost control. Another is that he's deliberately embracing the destruction because he now believes nobody can stop him. And another possibility is that Silverwing is responding to Ulf's emotions and commands in a chaotic battlefield environment. But whatever the exact explanation, the result is the same. Ulf's betrayal stops being political and becomes catastrophic. 11. This is why Ulf becomes so dangerous. Before Tumbleton, Ulf is mostly an arrogant dragon seed. After Tumbleton, he's something much more dangerous. He's a dragon rider who has demonstrated that he is willing to turn against his own allies. And now both sides have a reason to fear him. The blacks can't trust him, the greens can't completely trust him, and ordinary people have every reason to fear Silverwing. That's the irony of Ulf's quest for respect. He wanted everyone to recognize his power, and eventually, everyone does, but not in the way he wanted. They don't see him as a great lord. They see him as a dangerous man with a dragon who cannot be controlled. 12. What does this mean for the future? Ulf's actions at Tumbleton could have enormous consequences. Rhaenyra's trust in the dragon seeds becomes even more fragile. And that matters because another dragon seed, Adam of Hall, remains loyal to her. But after what Ulf and Hugh have done, Rhaenyra has every reason to question whether any dragon seed can truly be trusted. That's what makes the betrayal so damaging. It doesn't just destroy an army, it destroys trust. And in a war where dragons are the ultimate weapons, losing trust in your own dragon riders could be almost as dangerous as losing a dragon itself. Final thoughts. So, why did Ulf burn Ormund Hightower? The most important clarification is that Ulf wasn't the person who directly killed Ormund. Roderick Dustin and the Winterwolves reach Ormund during the battle, and Roddy mortally wounds him. Then Silverwing's dragonfire sweeps across the battlefield, consuming Ormund along with countless other soldiers and civilians. But the fact that Ulf's fire destroys people on both sides is what makes the scene so significant. Ulf isn't simply choosing the greens over the blacks anymore. He's effectively choosing himself. He spent the season wanting respect. He wanted to be treated like someone important. He wanted the nobles to recognize that he was no longer the commoner he once was. And Ormund understood that weakness. He tried to use promises of power and status to pull Ulf away from Rhaenyra. But once Ulf finally turned, the situation became impossible to control. The dragon rider who was supposed to strengthen the green cause helped turn Tumbleton into a nightmare. And Ormund, the man who thought he could manipulate Ulf, ultimately became one of the victims of that very decision. That's the real tragedy of the scene. Ormund thought he was recruiting a weapon, but once Ulf took control of Silverwing, the weapon had a mind of its own. And that is exactly why Tumbleton changes the dance of the dragons forever. Because from this point forward, the greatest danger isn't simply which side has more dragons. It's whether anyone can actually control the people riding them.